All right, let's get right to it. For every executive watching this, you need to know that the playbook for corporate survival, it's been completely rewritten. You see, the old model, the very one that built empires, is now the single greatest threat to your company's future. Today, we're going to break down this urgent new reality, and it's all based on the executive playbook, innovation or elimination. You know, this quote from the co-founder of Netflix, Mark Randolph, it's not just some clever line for presentation. It is the central challenge defining our entire economy. It really frames the whole landscape as a simple choice. You either drive the change, or you will be driven out of business by it. So the real question is, how do you actually get ahead of that disruption?
So here's our game plan for this briefing. First, we're going to completely dismantle the old idea of the Fortress-like R&D lab. Then, we have to talk about the new speed of business and a really surprising truth about where the best talent actually is. We'll wrap it all up by looking at some proven success stories and connect everything to the AI mandate that I know you're facing right now. Okay, let's start with a hard truth. Not that long ago, your internal R&D lab was your fortress, right? It was your source of immense competitive advantage. Well, today, that fortress, it's become a cage. What was once your greatest strength is now, believe it or not, your most critical vulnerability. And this right here, this exposes the core flawed assumption of that closed lab mentality. It's this deep-seated belief that secrecy and control and just your internal resources are enough to win. But that mindset, it creates a massive blind spot, and it makes established companies totally vulnerable to competitors they literally never see coming.
And that brings us to the next point. The timeline for success has completely collapsed. I mean, the world your company was built in, with its predictable, kind of linear progression, that world is gone. Exponential change isn't some trend on the horizon. It is the new normal.
And look at this. This just illustrates the new velocity perfectly. It took the telephone 75 years to reach 50 million users. I mean, that's 3 generations. ChatGPT reached double that number, 100 million users in just 60 days. So if you're still working on a 5-year plan, you have to understand that entire industries are now being born and redefined in the time it takes you to get a budget approved for Q3.
So if the pace has changed that dramatically, how can any single company possibly keep up? Well, the answer is, it can't. And that brings us to this fundamental law that just completely dismantles the logic of relying only on your internal teams.
This is Joy's law. Now, look, this isn't meant to be a pessimistic view. It's a strategic opportunity. The moment you accept that the smartest people, the most groundbreaking ideas, and the most agile tech exist outside your walls, you stop trying to build everything yourself. You start connecting. And that right there is the foundation of open innovation.
So this forces a really critical question for every leader. Given the statistical truth of Joy's law and the sheer speed of AI, is your closed R&D lab still a strategic asset, or has it become a statistical liability? One that's mathematically guaranteed to fall behind.
Okay, so if the internal model is broken, what's the alternative? Let's shift from the problem to the solution. Let's look at how industry leaders are already winning by embracing a new model of external collaboration. This is the proven path to agility. I mean, take Procter Gamble, a legacy giant, right? When they were faced with stagnation, they didn't just try to work harder inside their labs. No, they implemented the Connect plus Develop model, which meant actively looking outside the company for promising ideas to bring in and scale. And the results? Well, they speak for themselves. This wasn't some minor tweak. P&G saw a 60% boost in their R&D productivity. This proves that open innovation isn't just a theory. It's a practical, high-impact strategy that delivers real, measurable results. And for a more modern, tech-focused example, just look at Walmart. To solve a huge supply chain challenge, they didn't try to become farming experts overnight. Nope, they partnered with an AI startup, Plenty, to integrate smart vertical farming. They future-proofed their access to fresh produce and built a much more resilient business.
The death of the closed lab, the new speed of business, the reality of where talent actually lives, it all converges on the one topic that's dominating every boardroom today: generative AI. So here's the bottom line. When it comes to game-changing tech like AI, building your own capabilities from scratch is a losing strategy. It's just too slow. The only way to stay competitive is through open innovation, by connecting to that external ecosystem of innovators who are already moving at light speed. And you should know, these insights aren't just academic theory. They come from the new executive playbook, innovation or elimination. which was written, literally, on the line, in the real world, while advising top global corporations. It's a strategy built from experience, designed for immediate application.
So we get the stakes, we understand what's happening. The only question left is, what are you going to do about it? Let's move from insight to action, because in this new reality, inaction, well, it's just not an option. Here are 3 immediate things you can do to start implementing this strategy. First, subscribe to the Itai Green LinkedIn newsletter for weekly deep dives. Second, follow his YouTube channel for these kinds of visual breakdowns. And finally, for a direct path to building your own AI strategy, you can book a strategic consultation.
Ultimately, it all just comes down to this. The business landscape doesn't have a middle ground anymore. The imperative is clear, it's stark, and it's simple. Innovation or elimination. The choice is yours.